Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So my name's Frances Ramsey and I work for Massimo. I've taken over last year in the role of account manager for Scotland. So I just want to give you a general overview. Now, don't be panicking. I'm very mindful of time. And I know down in the bottom left there it says 1 of 87. I promise you I don't have 87 slides. So Massimo have a mission statement, and we're all about improving patient outcomes and reducing the cost of care. Our guiding principles are remaining faithful to our promises and our responsibilities. We really thrive on fascination, and we're not all about greed and power. And we try and make each year better than the year before, both professionally and for the team. We like to make each day as fun as possible, and we do what's best for the patient care at the end of the day. So our innovation timeline really was, Massimo was founded in 1989. I don't know if many of you are familiar with our company. We're mainly known as a saturation company, and that stems back from our signal extraction technology way back in the 1980s, 1990s. As you'll see from that timeline, we've really developed quite a lot, and we're quite a high acuity company, mainly focusing on monitoring within the higher acuity areas of the hospitals, but we do offer home solutions as well and remote patient monitoring. So I spoke there about signal extraction technology, and Massimo look at different waveforms of light to gather information about the patients. So this is how we do that, and the signal extraction technology allows us to be as accurate as possible, and when patients are moving or they have a lot of motion, then we can filter out anything else that interferes with that. So we take in, are you all right? Somebody want to ask a question, or are you going to leave them for later? You're okay. Okay, so this is just really to say that we managed to filter out that interference and look at the signal that's coming from the arterial waveform to figure out what's happening with the oxygen levels in the patients. There's a lot of independent studies that Massimo have done, and we're always looking at new studies. We are mainly used across the higher acuity areas, and in particular the neonatal settings, because of the way that the babies present. They often are quite wriggly, so they want something that will take into account the extra motion that's experienced there, and if you're peripherally shut down as well in an intensive care or the operation room, it's handy to have our technology so you get a good signal. Just a few of the challenges, just also through motion and low perfusion, just explained there. We also are moving into more of a digital platform and improving patient outcomes with what we call patient safety net and our set technology. We've found that there's been a reduction in the amount of transfers onto the intensive care because we're able to monitor patients more so at the bedside, and it's really becoming quite apparent in the step down areas that we need to kind of look and be continuously monitoring patients' saturation levels so that we can see any dips, and if they do need any intervention, we can get that early on and stop these kind of transfers and rescue events that are happening. So we're all about early detection. Just some accuracy improvements. So previously we have an accuracy of 3% and 2% over low motion, but we've managed to improve that even more with the new sensor range that we have. So we've improved that down and half that in some instances. We also have some Bluetooth technology, and we can remotely monitor patients in hospital with Radius PPG, but we have a home presentation as well called Massimo Safety Net. for home use. So it means that the patients can move around, can be free to mobilise independently of any equipment and any trolleys and things like that. So it's really useful. So as I said previously, we use 2 signals in order to get our SpO2, our perfusion rate and our pulse rate. But we also have introduced rainbow technology across the range of our products. So that allows us to be able to monitor trends in the patient's hemoglobins, methemoglobins, their CO2 levels as well. So that's using many more bands of light in order to get that information. It's important to say that because we do look at hemoglobin and non-invasively. And I know that there are many blood gas analyzers out there that look at hemoglobin, but they just look at it in a period of time, whereas we can trend that information so you can see dips and be able to do something about it and maybe transfuse a little bit earlier. So just a study there that's looking at the reduction in blood transfusion frequency and getting that down to 87% whenever we use our rainbow technology on some patients. Also for high blood surgery, it's very useful because obviously we're not wanting to use as many red cells, and we can reduce that and therefore reduce some costs. Sorry, I'm using my iPad and it's not working. There we go. So in the past as well, we've always taken the respiration rate from our pulse oximetry pleth, and that's the waveform. We can actually look at the acoustic respiration rate, and we can hear that through a sensor that's placed on babies' thoracic area, and you can place it as well on adults just in their upper neck, so that we can actually hear that. And it's really quite useful to hear that because sometimes in sleep studies and patients are snoring, therefore the air is not passing down the correct way. So, and sometimes people are just a little bit intolerant to finger probes. We also do brain monitoring, so we can look at the function and the depth of sedation that patient's under, which is useful for over-sedating patients and elderly population having a lot of post-delirium whenever they're waking up from their operations. We can also look at regional oximetry, so look at how well perfused and how much oxygen is getting to the brain through surgery such as carotids, to make sure that everything is well perfused whenever they're under anaesthetic. And also we have the ability to look at the CO2 and have some capnography information as well, so we can look at that. A regional oximetry uses near-infrared spectrometry, and as I said before, it just allows us to look at actual regional oximetry rather than just looking at what is passing through on the arterial side. So that also can be used for tissue perfusion in flap surgery and see how well perfused an area is of the body as well. So it can be used regionally, not just on the brain. We can look at a more complex picture of the brain as well by using our SedLine sensors. Really useful, and the guidelines have changed for the anaesthetists just now, so they are recommending that they always look at that whenever they're sedating using TIVA anaesthesia. We've got some capnography solutions. The little one on the right, called Radius PCG, is very useful, and it's a handheld device. We've branched into hospital automation as well, and we have what's called a Root platform. This platform here is a device that can be used for all manner of patient monitoring, really, and can be customizable. As you've seen from the previous slides, that's been used there as a brain function monitor. It can be used as a vital signs monitor. But what's important about it, really, for the digital side of things, that it is future-proof. So it's a connectivity platform as well. And as you'll see at the back, they've got some LAN ports and some MOC ports, so that we can actually connect patients' pumps through the Root, even if we weren't monitoring patients through the Root platform, and then we can push that data to any EMR system that's in place as well in the hospital, so it can act as a connectivity platform as well as just a patient monitor. So as I said just there before, there's a picture here showing you all the different options that you can get using that one platform. We have what's called Patient Safety Net as well. So some people think that it's like a telemetry system, and in many ways it kind of is, because you can see what's happening in the patient's rooms just by looking at one patient screen. So you can see how well the patients are getting on just at a glance as well. And that's all tetherless if you want it to be from a pulse oximetry point of view. It can be hardwired or it can be Wi-Fi'd as well. They're using that just now in the Children's Hospital in Edinburgh because of the new setup of the building and everything being single rooms, so we can keep a good eye on the patients and we don't have any dead in bed, which is a terrible thing, but it does happen, unfortunately. We also have what's called Replica, which is a mobile data and alarm notifications, just like a mobile phone. In many instances, we're now moving away from pager situations for the consultants and the nurse in charge, so they can use this phone and they can actually see what's happening in the patient's bedside monitor on the phone screen, as you can see in these images. Really, really useful. As I've said before, the Patient Safety Net system is what it says. It's all about the patients being safe and the clinicians being able to actually see what's happening at that patient, and then they will get an alert if that is not responded actually at the bedside on the bedside monitor. They will have a further alert to take them to the bedside monitor. Automated workflow for data collection, so we can push data anywhere, and we have early warning scores as well that are built into our monitors. And really that we're just across the continuum of care, so within the OR, within the ICU as well. Excuse me, we can use on the surgical floors, the general floor as well, and then we also have some options for IT. We have some portable devices as well, some handheld, which are mainly used in the emergency situations to be able to look at the CO2 levels, in particular emergency care after fires, any inhalation and things like that. We've got a new RAD-G, which has been used for CCHD for the newborns and screening for cardiac disease. And we have the smaller finger probes for saturations, which are getting used quite a lot in the community now with the risk and the fall in saturations with regards to the pandemic. Home care solutions that we offer as well. We can have all of this screen as well on a telemedicine for home care. We have an app as well that you can load so that you can see how well your patients are doing, and patients' relatives can be involved as well for opioid misuse and that type of thing for home care appliances. We're number 9 out of the top 10 hospitals in Boston use our technology. We've got lots of patients throughout the world and monitoring using Masimo technology. We've got a lot of multi-parameters as well, and our boards are used in a lot of the main providers for acute monitoring across, more in particular, I think in Scotland with the Philips guys, and I noticed that Mindray's not there, but we work with them as well. Obviously, we have a corporate responsibility and sustainability as well, so just put that slide up there as well, so that we're investing in our planet. Product portfolio, as I've said, is huge. I'm responsible for all of it. And we have a lot of different cables for different OEM customers that we work with and different sensors. Our sensor family are there. We've changed some of the sensors just because of improvement, and that's what we'll continue to do and look into our equipment. That's all of our products there. And really, just to get back to that, we are all about improving patient outcomes and reducing the cost of care. And we can do that in many different ways. I just want to thank you for inviting me along. I hope I've not taken up too much time. And obviously, if you want to ask me any questions or send me anything, please feel free to do so. I can come and give you a demonstration, or we can do anything online. And I look forward to hearing everyone else. Thanks a million for your time.
I can say
Excellent.
yes.
Excellent, thank you. So we're new to the framework, the Scotland framework, and we predominantly work in the home care market. So councils dealing with domiciliary care throughout Scotland or throughout the UK actually. And our company is a large company. We're a global company, but we have bases obviously in the UK. So there you'll see that we're based around the world. Our background is in smart Internet of Things. Amongst other things, we manufacture gas, electricity meters, we do electricity metering, we manufacture smart meters, we manufacture smart heating controls, and hence the move into smart tech for home care. So going into what we want to tell you about today, we all know that there's a connection between social care, healthcare, public care, and the housing that we've got in the UK. And our system addresses these connections. As for using technology, I read recently that there was a report on Deloitte's back in 2017 that estimated that by providing telecare, the likes of what we provide, to people that are over 75, £99 million was actually added to the Scottish UK government purse. So with the changes since 2017, it can only get better, and hopefully you're going to see that. So what we're saying is that technology can lighten the load. Beanbag Care Services help with the digital connectivity between the home, the person, and giving person-centred monitoring within the home and the council and the care providers that are giving that care. So Beanbag Care is based on a cloud-based system. It provides supportive home environment for the service user with communication focused on the bottom left there. You'll see the tablet as part of the kit. Other components are onto the top left are the router, the gateway, and then sensors around the home, which link to apps to the responders and to the carers. So the sensors are placed around the house and they collect the data regarding the service user and their home environment and monitor their day and night activities unobtrusively. They're not aware of them. They're not cameras or anything that they can actually think, oh, I don't want that in the house. The data that's collected feedbacks to algorithms which identify exceptions. So we're basically sending exceptions on anything. We're alerting on exceptions. We're not expecting anyone to keep looking at all the data that's produced and given to you. The tablet is the link between the service user and their responders, and ultimately a third-party response centre or indeed our own response centre. So going on to Beanbag Care Services, we've got two parts to it. On the left there, you'll see domiciliary care is the quality of care. It's monitoring for the quality of care that the person in their home receives. The person that's got the care actually gives a feedback via the tablet to say how they felt about the care that they got. On the right-hand side, you can see that we've got an in-home monitoring of the home environment. And as I said before, unobtrusive sensors are used to monitor for falls detection, sleeping patterns, health and well-being, basically. The tablet is the communication centre with the older person. You can send actually messages via the tablet or individual messages, or the care providers can. So ideal for back when we were sending messages out about COVID and things like that. And in essence, it will give you business efficiencies. You don't have to make all those phone calls for a start. The service user uses the tablet, as I said before, to give their feedback. And the service user will also see on that tablet exception of alerts. So, for example, if the temperature drops below the parameters in their home, an alert will be sent to the responder, and to the person in the house will see that as well. We've got these tablets out in the field. As you see there, that 86-year-old person is someone that we're actually working with. They gave the permission for us to see. And once they start using tablets, they love it, because they can make VoIP calls, they can speak to people, they feel part of something. What we're saying here is that most of the time, we know that the older person of the world is of the UK, I should say, well, of the world as well, but they're on their own for the most part. And whilst they've got carers going in and various different people, potentially they can be alone for about 20 hours of the day. Beanbag care gives that cushion of monitoring. So meaning, despite being alone, there's a care package that's filling that time, looking after them unobtrusively throughout the house. Going on to the 24/7 element of the service, as we mentioned, there was a falls service. Now, many people have wearable solutions. However, a proportion of falls do go unreported. Often, they're not wearing the device, or they're not choosing to activate it, not able to activate it, or they're perhaps falling a bit too slowly. Beanbag Care will identify falls and checks with the service user. It identifies for non-movement. And it will check with them, voice activated across the tablet. If they're okay, they can press OK. It then goes, if they don't answer, it then goes to 2 responders, and then actually ends in the response centre, which could be a third-party response centre, as I mentioned before, or indeed our own. They would then take the next appropriate action. If and when a fall is detected, or a non-movement, the heating actually is automatically adjusted. It's all connected together, and this to enable if it's in the evening, in the night, to keep them comfortable till someone can get to them and make sure that everything's all right with them. In the sleeping side of the element in the service user sleeping habits are actually monitored continuously using the sensors, and any exceptions that come about, so outside the parameters of what is normal, an alert will be sent to the responders to check up on the service user, make sure that they're all right, giving early and proactive preventable intervention on health issues. So disturbed sleep can actually indicate maybe they've got a UTI, or in fact any other diseases, or they're not happy or distressed or anything like that. So it's early intervention which we're trying to work on here. The third element of the monitoring, the 24/7 monitoring, is monitoring the home environment. So we're monitoring the temperatures, high and low humidity and temperature settings are preset, and any exceptions outside of those parameters are again alerted to the responders. We also monitor for carbon monoxide, and similarly with the other two, if unsafe levels are identified, we'll initiate an urgent alert. We monitor all these parameters and respond and send alerts where necessary, and follow the same route of escalation as per the falls. So it'll go responder 1, responder 2, and then straight on to the call centres if neither of those 2 responders have checked in. So lastly, I'd like to just say that Beanbag Care is a flexible platform. It can be taken as a full service, or you can choose the parts that fit with what you're trying to achieve within the council and working with the care providers. It can integrate with any other software that you may have or they're working with. So with all these benefits that you see here on there, we'd like to speak to you, go into them in a little bit more detail. So please come over to the breakout sessions and we can answer any questions. I know I've gone through it a little bit fast there, but please come over and have a chat with us all. Thank you, and thanks for attending.
That's great. Thank you, Judith, for that.
No worries. Thank you.
there was some somebody put into the chat. Can we get copies of these presentations? Yes, we'll
Yes.
gather them in, and Chris has already said that we'll put it through in the Teams. So Geraldine has just asked, will you share APIs so this can be integrated with a CRM?
Sorry, is that for me?
Yes, sorry, Judith.
Oh, sorry. Could you
So-
give me that question again then, please?
So Judith, will you share? So basically, it's your API. Is it going to be shared so you could integrate this with a CRM solution?
Yes, is the answer.
That's what we like. Short
We
to
will.
the point. Great. Thank you very much, Judith.
Sorry, I thought.
Thank you very much indeed. Can I just confirm everyone can see my screen there?
Yeah.
Just somebody
Got it.
shout out. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, so firstly, obviously, thanks to Digital Office and Scotland Excel for the invitation to come along and meet you all today. During this introduction to Apello, I'll be showing you that we have some very well established award-winning digital products, such as our smart living solutions and our telecare monitoring platform, along with insight into our newest digital products called Smart Connect and Smart Life. And between that overall set of products, between them, we've sought to ensure that we have a product for whichever style of service your organisation wishes to provide. I'll just kick off with an introduction to Apello itself. I appreciate many of you perhaps won't be overly familiar with Apello at this point. We've 35 years experience in delivering telecare services to housing providers and local authorities. We operate the UK's largest, most advanced telecare monitoring service, which utilises an award-winning cloud-based platform, which we developed ourselves. And we currently handle around 230,000 connections. That's warden call connections and telecare connections across our 3 physical monitoring centre facilities. Now, whilst we have those 3 physical monitoring facilities, one of the key benefits that we're able to deliver via our cloud platform is that we're able to enable home working much more readily. In fact, it wasn't possible with the platform that we were using originally. We needed to develop our own cloud-based platform to address digital transition. There wasn't anything available readily on the market for us to upgrade to, so we created our cloud platform. And as I say, as well as having the 3 physical facilities, we're operating with an increasing number of home-based workers, home-based telecare monitoring staff. Now, of course, that really came into its own during the more restrictive periods of the pandemic and the various working from home initiatives. We simply wouldn't have been able to do that with a regular off-the-shelf monitoring platform. And it's actually something, a business model that we've actually carried forward now as we've sort of got back into a relative normality. We've continued to benefit from having people been able to work from home. We're currently operating about 25 shifts per day with home workers. So it's really been a big enabler for us. It's allowed us to expand our talent pool and recruit monitoring operatives from all around the country, not just restricted to the geographical areas where our monitoring centres are. The other reason, or another reason why we developed the cloud-based platform was because, of course, digital transition on the horizon. We really did need to develop something outside of the traditional monitoring provider platforms. We've also developed our own digital warden call systems. Which we call Smart Living Solutions. Again, you know, as I referred to, we have 35 years of experience of working in the industry with many providers, but it was really a need to develop our own digital products with not really anything digital coming from the core or the more traditional manufacturers in the sector. So in 2017, we developed Smart Living Solutions, which, as I say, is our digital warden call door entry system. We've now deployed that into over 500 schemes, looking after 30,000 residents, so now benefiting from the digital telecare smart living solutions. And throughout our digital platform, we've now taken over 2 million digital calls have been placed across our systems. Now, of course, one of the main benefits of the digital ward and call system is that the connection time through to those monitoring centres or through to our monitoring centre is now 4 seconds, as opposed to the slower dial-up type solutions. And of course, we've been able to address the issue of call queuing. More traditional analog or hybrid solutions would still have call queuing, which obviously adds to the delay in getting a response to somebody. So we've really been able to add some real safety enhancements to the system. We have, I mean, the digital transition really has seen us being able to move from a ward and call system more akin to the box on the left to the one on the right there. Okay, Smart Living Solutions, which is our most immersive and comprehensive digital solution for schemes, as well as being a super fast ward and call system. It's also video enabled, so we've been able to implement video door entry. There are some social inclusion benefits to that as well. We can have video flat to flat calling. There is also digital inclusion available through the Wi-Fi hotspot facility that we provide, and also a means for residents to connect to their housing provider digitally if they don't have their own means of accessing the internet. Smart Life was created as a means of addressing the technical necessity to have digital ward and call systems to help organisations overcome the challenges of getting calls successfully across the network to the monitoring centre. It uses, it can communicate in, it does communicate in Now IP, which is the British standard, the ratified signalling protocol for digital systems. And whilst it doesn't have the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and the screen capabilities, there are some huge benefits in terms of the way that the system is actually installed. And Smart Life, which I'll come on to also, is our digital dispersed alarm. It's important to note here for folks interested in this sort of the IT side of these systems, the Apollo systems are the only systems on the market that use transport layer security, TLS 1.2 or 1.3 for the encryption of all voice and data traffic. Of course, a security of internet and transmission protocols, obviously vitally important. I'm going to just talk you through some of the main features of each of Smart Living Solutions, Smart Connect and Smart Life. So Smart Living Solutions is actually a screen-based system. And one of the questions we sometimes get asked or often get asked is, oh, you know, it's a tablet, will residents, is there a risk that residents could remove the tablet or from the wall or not have it available when they need it, or do they have to charge up the unit? So the first thing that we can assure there is that no, the unit itself is a permanently powered hardwired fixture on the wall, so it can never run out of power. The system is backed up by 24-hour or up to 24-hour backup in the event of power failure. And the system is also backed up via GSM. The central control equipment incorporates GSM, so that if there's any failure of incoming broadband, then the system will automatically fail over to provide resilience to ensure that the call traffic can still get sent off to the monitoring centre. As well as the alarm based, as well as the alarm facilities, residents have access to a contacts book where they can select apartments to call, so they can phone their friends and neighbours around the development in audio or video. As you can see, the screen itself is very easily and well laid out in terms of providing direction to the resident as to how to use the system. So the alarm button, the contacts directory there. There is an opportunity for housing providers to personalise this home screen. For example, in this instance here, where we've got the My PA tile, what that does is it allows the resident to touch that tile and connect straight through to My PA, who are a housing association, their online digital services for residents, so that residents can interact with the organisation digitally if they don't have their own means of accessing the internet. For doing things like paying service charges or reporting repairs. And then the I'm OK feature, which is very useful for alerting staff that you either do or do not require your morning wellbeing visit. It allows staff to then obviously spend time or more time with the residents that do need those calls. So in a quick summary of the of Smart Living Solutions, the system provides a super fast emergency alarm connectivity to the monitoring centre. As I said, that's a 4-second connection time through to the monitoring centre. The contacts book for phoning apartment to apartment. You can also raise an assistance call. That's a lower level alert to staff. An assistance call, if it is not answered on site, will not go through to the monitoring centre because it is not not an emergency event, whereas any alarm calls which aren't answered on site will go through to the alarm receiving centre straight away. You've got the I'm OK feature, the video door entry, and there are also some additional features, as I mentioned, where a resident can use the unit as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So if they have their own tablet, smartphone, but maybe don't have their own internet connection in their apartment, the housing provider can choose to enable that service for a resident, which really helps with organisations who are trying to provide an element of digital inclusion into any warden call or telecare solution that they choose to deploy. The video door entry feature is again very clear for the resident to use. The room unit will naturally alert the resident that somebody's calling from the panel. There will be a video preview so that the resident can see who they are or who they are not. More importantly, who they are not letting in. There is also a facility to capture the image of a caller. So if it's not a bona fide visitor and the resident is nervous about who it is, then there is a possibility for the resident to capture an image, which obviously can be looked into. Now, because Smart Living Solutions incorporates a wide range of features other than simply being a warden call and door entry system, we're often asked, will residents struggle with the new technology? It sounds complicated because it's touchscreen and it's digital and it's IP and it's something new. One of the things we're really keen to impress on residents and housing providers is that really we're not asking the resident themselves to learn anything new when it comes to placing an alarm, because with the older systems or the systems that they may have been more familiar in the past, where you've got your red button on your box, you've now of course got your red alarm tile. So the alarm feature is accessed from the main unit, as it always was. Residents would be provisioned with a pendant, so residents are more than likely used to using pendants with the existing system or systems that they've been used to before. So again, nothing new to actually learn there in terms of raising an alarm. And pull cords. If the housing provider chooses to retain them when they do upgrades, then they can be reconnected into the new warden core unit, the new touchscreen unit. Or there is a range of wireless peripherals as well, wireless pull cords, etc. So if an apartment needs to be kitted out with additional means of raising an alert, either reactively or proactively, then those are available. There is a snapshot here of the telecare peripherals that are available, many of which you'll be familiar with: chair sensors, bed sensors, chair occupancy, pressure mats to detect if somebody sort of put a foot out of bed in the night and has not returned. But because we're talking about fully end-to-end digital systems here, we've also been able to make the system more mobile and accessible to residents who wish to have the convenience or necessity for an app. So what this does is it allows the residents to have access to all of the features: raising an alarm, the door entry, the phoning flat to flat. They can have that on the convenience of a smartphone or a tablet. The idea being that wherever the resident is connected to Wi-Fi or via a 4G SIM, they have access to the system and the features of the system and the reassurance of the system from their mobile devices. We also have Bluetooth connectivity from the screen itself, from the living hub, as we call it itself, so we can extend the range of audio around the dwelling. So if somebody's hard of hearing and needs an extension to the system in their apartment, then the two-way speech element from the Bluetooth speaker is an enabler for that. And of course, it saves needing, or it does away with the requirement to install additional speech units around somebody's apartment. Apello HQ is the management dashboard, which again is it's all of our systems are supported by cloud-based self-service facilities. And provide some real key efficiencies for staff who are managing sheltered or retirement or extra care developments where these systems are actually installed. It gives them a greater degree of flexibility in terms of how they manage their devices. It allows for staff to be made aware if any of the devices on the system have gone faulty. With traditional or hybrid ward and call systems, it is more reliant on units being physically tested, or for someone to report an issue with a unit when they've tried to use it and it's not worked. Whereas with Smart Living Solutions, the devices are monitored continually, and any faulty unit would be notified to the staff on site. But again, appreciating that staff aren't watching the dashboard all of the time, there are automated email alerts that come through to the Apello digital support team, and in 70% of occasions our tech support team will be able to dial in and rectify the fault remotely. Largely the service and maintenance of these devices is all software driven, and thus allowing the remote fix. The dashboard also shows call history. It shows the battery life of pendants. It will also show if a pendant is not being seen on a scheme. So if a resident has lost their pendant away from the development, the manager will basically be alerted to the fact that the pendant's not being seen on the system, and then knows to make an inquiry with the resident. So the resident is less onus on the resident to report issues with pendants. The I'm OK dashboard, which I mentioned, is displayed like this, like a traffic light system, so that the manager on site can readily see who does and who doesn't need a morning call or wellbeing check. Okay, so just moving on to Smart Connect. Okay, so again, it's supported by the cloud-based management services and self-service portal in exactly the same way as Smart Living Solutions is. It is a end-to-end digital social alarm system. Its key benefit is that it can be installed on the existing cabling infrastructure, and although of course we would recommend that it is installed on new cable, but if the requirement is explicitly to reuse existing cable, if indeed the cable is sound, then the system can be installed on the existing cable infrastructure, minimizing decorative disruption and reducing installation time. It has the integrated door entry, very simple and straightforward to use, and is also, in the same way as Smart Living Solutions is backed up in the event of power failure. There is an uninterruptible power supply, which will provide up to 24-hour battery backup. With all of our digital products, or with Smart Living Solutions certainly, and Smart Connect, there is a dual server resilience. So if one element of the control equipment fails, there is a secondary backup which kicks in automatically to provide resilience on the system. There is 4G capability within the system again, so if the main broadband line goes down into the scheme, then the calls will still be trafficked off-site in that super fast connection time through to the monitoring centre. One of the main differentiators between Smart Connect and other products that you will that you will investigate is that it's interoperable with the telecare provided by certain other manufacturers. For example, Care and Tunstall. So if you're looking to upgrade a ward and call system on which you have an existing base of or existing users of telecare, Tunstall telecare, then that telecare will be interoperable with the new system. One of the real drawbacks with ward and call systems over the years has been that telecare will really only work with the original manufacturer equipment. So in our overall desire to try and make our systems as open standards as possible and interoperable, it's something that we've uniquely have achieved with Smart Connect. Again, there's automatic and advanced fault finding. Again, with the remote fix capability, and there are also some of the features that you would expect to see with ward and call systems, such as the public announcement feature, where a staff member can make a broadcast announcement about an event on site or information about anything that's happening. It also supports over-the-air configuration and programming. So those are the two schemes or two systems that we install within sheltered housing, extra care, and assisted living, retirement properties. But we also have new to market. It's going to be released towards the end of January. We're just finalising the testing on it, is the Smart Life dispersed alarm. Now, as a dispersed alarm, it has a number of unique points which really set it aside from similar devices that you might investigate. For example, it is capable of signalling in the IP protocols of SCAPE and Now IP, which are the British standard ratified signalling protocols for digital systems. It will also operate over 4G. You may be aware, I'm sure many of you are aware, that 3G and 2G is being phased out. I think BT, who own the EE network, are phasing out 3G by the end of 2023. So dispersed alarms that operate using 2G or 3G would need a replacement sooner than if you were installing 4G from the outset. So we've obviously been very keen to impress that is a unique selling point for Smart Life. There is also an extension for Bluetooth. So again, we can extend the audibility around somebody's apartment using Bluetooth. The unit, I should say, as well as being digital, it can also be used in analog mode for the interim period if required. Okay, so it really is flexible in terms of the way that it can be connected to the monitoring centre, or indeed third-party care providers or friends and family. All of the Apello hardware is supported by our Apello cloud services. I'll just very briefly summarise this. Of course, we can talk about them more during the breakout sessions, but CareNet, that's our cloud-based telecare monitoring facility. single best record, or SBR as we call it, is a part of our monitoring services, which integrates into CareNet and allows court managers, scheme managers, housing staff to update their own resident records on our CareNet platform. It also allows you to see notes made by our operatives when they deal with telecare calls. You can see the notes that were made. You can update resident information with medical records, updated contact details, etc. HQ was the area I touched on, where you can see real-time information about the system performance on site. Nexus allows you to see the real-time performance of equipment on site across multiple sites. So if you're a manager that looks after multiple schemes, you can log in via Nexus to see the HQ dashboards for each of the schemes that you manage. IO allows us to analyze the data that we can take from other third-party providers, wearables, devices that will check various vital signs, etc. All of that information can be viewed via SBR. Digital Bridge is a non-hardware solution that we provide for housing providers who are not yet in a position to install digital warden call systems. For whatever reason, if they're not able to embark as quickly as they'd like on installing digital, then Digital Bridge is a software solution that works in conjunction with our monitoring platform, which allows calls from an analog warden call system to successfully traverse the telecoms network into our monitoring platform without the risk of a first-time call failure rate. One of the big issues faced by analog systems currently is that with the digitalization of the phone networks, analog calls are not always getting through to the monitoring centres successfully on the first attempt. There's approximately a 10% failure rate as it stands at the moment, and of course that failure rate has not plateaued. It will increase until 2025 when the analog networks are switched off altogether. So Digital Bridge is designed to help organisations that can't move as quickly as they would like, and provides them with an element of resilience to minimise that first-time call failure rate.
Sorry, Gareth.
Yeah, am I overrunning?
Interrupt you. Sorry, it's just if there's anything you want to particularly highlight, because you're running out of time, I'm afraid.
Okay, no problem. Well, okay, I'll just quickly round off by saying that whilst a number of the features and benefits will be new to staff and residents alike, we've really changed the way that resident familiarisation is carried out and training. We've created a range of how-to videos to help staff and residents become and stay familiar with our systems. But I can cover off all of that and more of that during the breakout sessions a bit later. So I'll just round off by saying thanks again to Digital Office and Scotland Excel. We look forward to hopefully working with you on some live projects, and come and see us a bit later in the breakout sessions. And sorry for overrunning.
That's not a problem.
Thanks everybody for giving us this opportunity to present to you. You can see that this is a collaboration between Synaptic, who's a Scottish-based organisation that provides clinical teams to the NHS hospitals in Scotland. So Synaptic is on a different framework for insourcing of that capability and capacity. And I'm a director of Synaptic, and we're in collaboration with PHL. PHL. They've got a lot of experience in the primary care setting. They run primary care operations, GP services in England, and they also deliver 111 call handling services in a number of regions in England. And they also are a technology organisation. So between us, we've come together because we think that collaboratively we have the resources to provide an innovative solution to the challenges that I guess IJBs will be facing, as well as other parts of the social care network where individuals want to be cared for in their own home, and that can be a myriad. But certainly, our experience at Synaptic, we can see that there's an awful lot of people who are still waiting in hospital because they don't have care packages to get them back home. So our proposition, I think, helps. It's not the full answer, but certainly it helps that transition. It also supports the care of the individual when they are back home, so there's less likelihood of them being bounced back into hospital. But overall, the aim of the care sector, health and care sector, is that people should be treated and cared for as close to home as possible. So therefore, in your home is the ideal setting. So what we have is an approach that offers 24/7 care. It's anticipatory and it's also proactive. It's picking up on behavioural changes from sensors and so on and so forth, algorithms that are picking up behaviours and assessing any changes. And all of this means that it can be the data can be linked into a clinical call handling centre that has GPs, but also escalation processes that can include consultants in that escalation of response. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Roberto to actually take you through how this platform operates and works. Roberto?
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, just to echo Ken's point, is that we've worked with Ken for a while now, and one of the key elements is looking at how we can redesign pathways with our NHS and social care colleagues to provide that a new way of proactive care. And what I'd like to just show you quickly is a sort of summary of our system. It's quite rich and it's very flexible as well, because we understand not everybody works in the same way. But the essence of this is to combine lots of the things that we're talking about today, and that is about combining both medical and behavioural and environmental sensor data from the patient in their own home. Bringing that together using machine learning, because that's an enormous amount of data, combining that with a clinical team, bringing those two things together is a vital way of ensuring that there aren't extra escalations and that patients can be managed with the correct amount of risk and also the right types of communication with the rest of the system. So combining them together, we believe, is the first pathway that allows us to redesign it for proactive care in your own home. So this is about thinking not only about the discharge element, but it's also about patients already in the community. So let's just give you a bit of this is a very top line schematic of patients can come into and clients can come into the service from two pathways. They are either suitable for discharge, and as we know, care packages are ever more scarce. And this is about combining this alongside traditional care packages, making those care resources go further and making it more cost effective, and also providing a longer period of time where we're monitoring people, because we're doing it 24/7. There's also the right hand side, which is our GPs, our community nursing teams. Those guys know about patients in their community who are a potential worry for them, and they need to be added to a system to observe how they're doing. So they get put into our solution where we prescribe depending on their needs. It's not a one size fits all. It ranges from proactive wellbeing checks via telephone, via face-to-face, along with medical observation kits, behavioural and environmental sensors, and wearables. And all of that comes into our AI machine to allow us to manage that safely. And we have a 24/7 clinical team on all the time in order to manage that. If I just give you a quick idea of how this patient flow and the coordination works, simply from the home, we're receiving in lots of different data points, behavioural sensors, environmental, temperature, humidity, the medical observations, SpO2, body temperature. We've done this on quite a large scale. We helped design the COVID oximetry at home service with the clinical lead and rolled that out to great effect in the pandemic. We also have proactive wellbeing calls from our own physical contact centre, and also we enable care visitors and health visitors into the home to be able to update as well. Because whilst I love technology, all of the shiny things, people are essential for keeping an eye on people, but it's also about collecting that data in a uniform manner. That information comes into our dashboard, which is, as I say, powered by AI. This is a decision support tool. It's not making the decisions. It is providing us with information that there now needs to be decisions made. The pathways are agreed depending on the patient cohort. We have a variety of different types of people on this. It's person-centric. It's all about how they are in their own home. And therefore the tool learns them, so that we're not setting off alarms because of other people's parameters. It's all about that person. We have care navigators who are the point of contact, who are talking to the people in their own home, building those relationships, understanding their behaviours. But we've also got clinicians available for those referrals at a moment's notice. And out of that, there's actions, and the actions are either using a directory of local services. We've got lots of fantastic information for people to help support them. We contact the family, we bring that all together. But also we have with Synaptic this understanding of how to link in with acute consultant teams, how to inform them if there are patients that are on there in their care and have been in with them, that we can keep that communication consistent. As some of the other providers have got, it's some behavioural monitors, environmental monitors, but it's all connected via Vodafone's IoT global network to provide us with that secure data transfer. The equipment's placed around the home, which gives us a good view on that patient. No cameras, no microphones. A variety of different medical sensors, a variety of different wearables are available. It's all open API. We can receive any data in from anyone, and therefore we can tailor it to the person. If the person has a specific condition, we can also bring in their medical devices for that. Provides us with a single dashboard to look at all our patients, which are broken down into all the different cohorts. This can obviously be quite a large number of people, so it's about doing it by area, and that we can drill down into that and give people access to be able to view people they're looking after. It gives an an individual's view to drill down into the data, so we can see behavior scores, we can see the news scores, and we also start to understand trends. So here's an example of somebody's a hospital admission, and we can start to understand how they behaved before they went into hospital and after. Any parameters that are out of the norm for that person comes through to our alert screen. That's obviously monitored all the time. It refers automatically into the 111 call handling queues and allows us to operate where it's interoperable with all of the other systems, so that we're providing the messages to other care teams so they're aware of what has happened with those people. And also we do a well-being report that's also provided to anybody who is providing care to that person. So I think it's key that we then talk about what does that mean for the person. I think Brian's got quite a few views here on how this changes the way we look at it, because it's about a proactive, ahead of the curve intervention in people's own home about care.
You're on mute, Brian.
Brian. Still on mute.
There you go.
I'm on off now, yeah? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
There's been significant changes in Scotland since 2012 with a massive move towards integrated health and social care. The philosophy is quite clear about providing community-based preventative care in a homely or homely-based setting. And when you look at the stuff that Roberto's shown you, those techniques and those technologies precisely enable that to happen. So in three examples, for example, retaining people in their own home where they want to stay in a preventative way, and an anticipatory model supporting people who may be on their home alone and at risk. This model helps. Secondly, we all know that the earlier elderly people leave hospital, the better in terms of the psychological, emotional, and physical benefits. And again, this provides early discharge. And thirdly, those models with reactive, preventative, and proactive care have a significant benefit on reducing inappropriate admissions, earlier discharge, and increased capacity in beds in both health and social care. In terms of how people feel about this service, next slide will show you that example based on Isle of Wight shows that there is very positive support for patients and service users on terms of how they see the service. 71% report the service has been excellent, and importantly also how they would recommend the service to others is a really positive example of how this model can benefit older people and others to stay in their own home and improve their quality of life. Finally, as most of the planning and funding of care in Scotland rests with the Integration Joint Board, there's three benefits to this model for those boards. It helps to improve capacity around beds in the community and in hospitals by reducing inappropriate admission. It improves earlier discharge from secondary care. And finally, the most important thing, it improves the care management model, which is more likely to be able to retain people in their own homes and prevent readmission. So those three key elements also have a significant benefit in reducing the care cost packages of anything between 18 to 26% based on individual case studies. Again, integration joint boards have to be accountable for the way they spend money. They need to get more for less, and this model helps them in that regard. Robert Derto.
Thank you, Brian. So yeah, that was just a quick whistle-stop tour of our solution. I mean, I think that one of the thing we want to impress on you is it is very flexible. The dashboard, the equipment, it is all interoperable, and we've got experience of making sure that this works with existing systems, making sure that care records are updated. We're Cyber Essentials Plus accredited. All of the data stored on the HSCN network. So in terms of security and reliability, that's something that we've developed over the last 10 or 12 years of both urgent and community healthcare provision. So I hope that's been useful for you, and look forward to any questions later on.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Roberto. Really good presentation. We're now going to move on to Alcuris.
Thank you, Richard. Can I just check that you can hear me and also see the slides?
I can see the slides, and I can hear you. There's a little bit of a lag, but I think it might improve as we go through it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, yeah, just some news about Alcuris very recently. Some of you will be aware and some of you won't. We were recently acquired by the Access Group, who are one of the largest providers of domiciliary care platforms. So as a result of that, it's only going to enable Alcuris to grow and provide more of a service in not just this area, but across the board. So the introduction to Alcuris today is really about what we can offer from two different areas of our service offerings. So our motto really is to try and provide intelligent care decisions at the speed of life. So we're all aware of the number of challenges that we're facing, which is really the driver behind the development of Alcuris, both from our Connect platform, and as a result of having a platform, we then resulted in developing technology. So in order to be able to split those two out for you, I'd like to focus on the core element of what it is that we offer, which on the left-hand side here is all around Alcuris Connect. The simplified summary of Alcuis Connect is a single access point platform, which enables us to integrate with different parties and providers of solutions. There's so much technology out there now. One of the challenges we do find that social care and care professionals are coming back to us with is we love the tech that's available, but it's having to access them from various different platforms. It becomes time consuming and quite difficult. So as a result of that, we built an algorithm and artificial intelligence Connect platform that feeds in data, interprets that data, and then provides very simplified rules, alerts, triggers and alarms to care professionals. So as a result of that, we can integrate to 365 devices, third-party alarm devices, so pendants using Zigbee sensors. We also have the ability to integrate to different platforms as well using API links. So that could be things like Liquid Logic. So if there's certain bits of information you want from the Connect platform as a result of using a motion sensor and a door sensor, that data, rules and alerts can appear in Liquid Logic for that client record. The same with care providers as well. If there's any notes and things that they're recording, there can be a two-way transition. So if there's been a change based on the machine learning of somebody's behavior, whether there's been an increase or a decrease in perhaps kettle usage or bathroom activity, there can be a trigger or a link that's sent to the recipient to say that you may want to intervene or look at this. So the key elements around the Connect is the ability to be able to provide the smart, actionable insight. So not only do we want to move away from supplying active alarms that have been raised from the push of a pendant, we want to be able to give further insight into things. Actually, how can we prevent from that button even being pressed? What we've also got within the Connect platform is, because of the AI and the ability to start learning habitual behaviors, we'll actually be able to notify things of unusual activity. Now, it has the ability to also take some of the pressure away from social care and health by actually engaging with families with a very easy to use app that enables family members to create their own customized rules, which gives them peace of mind, reassurance, or possibly even areas of concerns where they can actually intervene. We also have, in terms of the dashboard, a very easy way for an administrator to be able to give access for certain individuals based on their roles. So for an example, if somebody is going out to service or MOT the equipment within the property, they could have very limited access so that they can only see the relevant bits of information that they need to. The same thing applies if there is a short-term requirement for a GP or a doctor to be able to look at the levels of activity or perhaps the health data that's coming from the Connect dashboard. Again, they can be set up in blocks, proportions and areas of access. And the great thing about the Alcuis Connect is, yes, there's a dashboard version, which is a URL based, which is predominantly used by care professionals. You have the app, which can be used by responders, family members, anywhere across the whole world, as long as there is some form of connectivity via Wi-Fi or mobile. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. But as a result of building the Connect platform, there was a requirement to obviously be able to push data to that Connect platform to show its true value. And as a result of that, we developed a hub with a range of motion sensors. So with our hub, we do have a certified social alarm currently. We are in the process of being able to provide voice over IP calls using 4G connectivity, and that is live as we speak with Innovation, which is the UMO Centre. And come Q1 next year, we'll then start to roll out to the likes of John Tech and other monitoring centres as well. In regards to the Alcuis Hub, as you would imagine, it's got full integration with the Alcuis Connect platform. It's a very discreet and modern looking hub as well for those that have seen it. There's an image on the next slide. But in addition to having 4G, it's also got Wi-Fi capability. And we have the built-in 869 megahertz alarm connectivity, which is required. In addition to that, we have not only the ability to raise an alarm via a pendant or a full monitor, you can press and have a two-way speech capability via the hub itself. And as a legal requirement, it does have its mandatory 24-hour battery backup. which in the event that that does happen, a notification would go to any recipients of alerts for that client. So it could be the son, the daughter, the relatives, it could be the monitoring centre itself, or perhaps even the warden if it was within a sheltered scheme. The hub itself, and obviously being part of the Access company, it does have the integrated RFID reader, so we can actually record carer visits as well, and the ability for carers to be able to input notes and any moods or behaviours or change or anything out of the ordinary that may have taken place, so that the care management team, as and when they require that information, have easy access to it. So to give you a very brief overview of how the data works and how does it get into the hand of the end user, is our hub or any third-party hub, and that's the key thing really about the Connect platform, is you have the flexibility of using a range of alarm devices. So we are currently working with the likes of Doro and Legrand, hoping to finalise that work by Q1 next year, which means the data that is getting pushed from their units will be accessible via the Connect platform. So that gives you flexibility and peace of mind. So whichever hub you're using, any IoT sensors, all of that information would go via the alarm receiving centre where applicable, and it would go to the family members based on rules and alerts that they perhaps set up. All of that information goes through our database and analytics platform, and as a result of that will appear on the Connect Plus dashboard. So as I mentioned, there is a web-based version which is very data-driven, and that would be easily accessible for care managers to have a nice simplified overview of the activities of daily living, behavioural changes, health analytics, and etc. We've also got 3 different ways of them being able to view that data. So for those people that really like to get into the crux of the actual down to the seconds of where they've been, how they've moved, the time it's taken, that is available. We also have easy to access chart summaries, which will actually analyse the data and present it in a written format for perhaps those that don't feel as confident interpreting data, but we have the flexibility built in. And then, as I did mention earlier, we have the Memo app. And the Memo app is very, very straightforward. There's 3 screens displayed, one that provides a real-time timeline of key events that have taken place, in addition to any personalised rules that have been created for any areas of concern or reassurance. It then has the ability to actually view the day's activity, and you can change to multiple views. And then the third option is to be able to set up things like smart alerts. So this is where the AI comes into play. It looks for any changes in behaviours. So for an example, if there was an increase in bathroom activity within the 24-hour window, there would be a notification or an alert sent to a recipient that would then be able to intervene or at least question or investigate why that event may have taken place. So great for detections of UTI, it could be loneliness, it could be changes in moods and behaviours because their activity's dropped. So a range of reasons why we would want to be notified of some of these less significant changes to try and get into there earlier. So talking about some of those rules, we kind of categorise these into 4 different ways. So we've got our rules at the top, which is predominantly used by family members, and this is where they just want that level of reassurance to know that, you know, mum's left the bedroom at 7 o'clock in the morning and we can see that the kettle's been used. Straight away, that gives the family the reassurance that mum or dad is actually okay and they're active and mobile. That can also work in the other way as well, and I'll give an example of a lady discharged from hospital. It was very important that she wasn't falling asleep on the sofa, but that she would go to bed. The family were able to set up a rule that the bedroom is, once it's triggered at night, she doesn't leave the bedroom. And on a couple of occasions, she was actually falling asleep in the living room. A quick phone call to the house just to remind her it's important to go to bed. They were able to play a huge part in that discharge process to prevent her potentially being readmitted. We then have things here called enhanced rules. So the enhanced rule is sort of the next tier up on these reassurance rules. And the enhanced rules is a single rule that will cover a multiple number of sensors. So for an example, you can tell the system that I want to know if Mrs. Smith leaves the bedroom, goes to the bathroom, but then doesn't return to bedroom after an allotted period of time. Now, that's not going to raise an alarm, but it will certainly raise a well-being alert to enable somebody to potentially investigate that if they're on downtime in the monitoring centre, so they could make an outbound call. Or again, if families are, now they have access to this data, they feel reassured with it, they could become the frontline responders to those type of alerts. In addition to that, we then have two different types of smart alerts, which is a result of the data-driven AI aspects. So we have our real-time alerts, which will detect real-time changes in behaviours. So if, for an example, we never expect the front door to be left open for more than 5 minutes at a time, once the 5 minutes and 1 second kicks in, a notification will be sent to actually advise that based on the normal behaviours for this individual, we have noticed the door has been left open for longer. Then we have our 24-hour smart alerts, which I briefly touched based on, but that is a change in somebody's behaviour within the last 24 hours. So we can set those at 3 different levels. We can have low, medium and high, which is essentially a different level of a gradient change or a variance. And they would be for things like, you know, levels of activity around the home, movement around the property, duration in certain rooms, duration in bathroom, number of visits, and so on. But the key thing about all of these rules and alerts is to be able to drive a more proactive and reactive model of care. So just to give you an example of some of the outcomes of this data that I mentioned. So we have a very simplified, as soon as you log into the client's homepage, we can see here it doesn't take any level of expertise. You've got very simplified diagrams to indicate a hot drink, a bathroom and a front door. And within the 24-hour period there, most of us on this call today would be able to determine the number of visits that she's had, how many times the kettle's been used and how often the door's been triggered. So very reassuring and very easy to interpret. We then also have the written chart reports, which we mentioned. So we have one for overnight activity, we have one for fluid activity, and we also have one for bathroom. So again, they're written in such a way that they can be very easy to understand. And with the integration to the likes of Liquid Logics, these reports can be fielded into and fed into the care plan on a daily basis, weekly basis, and that can all be automated. Again, they can be automated to care professionals, to families, or to discharge teams, etc. And then at the bottom here, the two are for those people that are more wanting to investigate a bit more. So predominantly it's OTs here for when they're doing their discharge or reablement process. They want to look at mobility. They want to look at how active they are. This is very, very good way of being able to determine that by adding and removing sensors to try and correlate that data. And then our last one here has always been very useful for care management, especially if you're reviewing somebody's existing care plan to ensure that it's suffice for them at that time. This here is a gradient to show you the average times of the day that we expect to see these sensors used over a 2-week window. You can change that time frame as well, but for an example, we can see the kettle being used from probably about 8 a.m. in the morning. So we know that that's the time that that this client typically wants to have a drink. So if they have a visit perhaps at 7 o'clock, could it be that we can move that? Or if the care visit is actually just to support them making a drink, do we perhaps even need that visit? But again, it really helps the care professional make a more informed decision. In addition to that, with families being able to have access to this as well, again, you can limit how much data they can see, whether they get the chart summaries or not. But families being able to see the data in black and white, it becomes very difficult then to go against any decision that's made. But actually, you find that families are more on board with the decisions being made because they can see exactly what's happening. So some of the family members that have used the system to date,
Sorry.
apologies, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Actually, if you could perhaps move to the wrapping up stage, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. So there's some of the feedback that we've had from the families. We've got, you know, it helps people to intervene remotely. They can concentrate on their own family at the same time. But just to sort of wrap up here as we should, what we've essentially saying is that, you know, the person's in the centre here. we want to be able to provide a single access solution that can bring in the families and friends to give them their reassurance, to be able to include health so that they get access to the data that social care are able to view, and also the service providers being able to integrate their data. So just a quick roadmap thing. We completed essentially we're offering a complete telecare ecosystem. We've got a certified alarm connectivity with UMO just now, and we have the ability to offer alarm and preventative alerts. In addition to that, we've got ADL capability with the analytics and reporting. In Q1 next year, we release our new version 3, which extends the 869 range that we can offer to health devices as well. And it also provides a greater level of connectivity to third-party devices and allows us to recycle some of the existing 869 devices already out in the marketplace. So thank you so much for your time. I wanted to give a very, very brief overview. Clint will be staying on this afternoon to be able to take any questions in the breakout session.
Good morning. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to present here this morning. What we're going to do this morning is I'm going to take you through a bit about Secure Shield, the products and services that we offer, and a bit of explanation on what we can deliver through both lots 1 and 2 of the monitoring and detection on the Scotland XL framework. So a bit about Secure Shield. So as you can see there, predominantly northern based with offices in Motherwell and Newcastle. We have a footprint over Scotland of about 25 engineers delivering techs, products and services, and additional with that also supplementing it, with fire, security, intruder alarm, the whole servicing and provision for what we would class as life safety systems. On the tech side, going from ward and call hardwired solutions, we carry out digital audits on existing analog stock. So we're assisting clients currently looking at what they have and how we get them from the analog to a digital solution to get them aligned, ready for the 2025 migration. We have digital dispersed alarms, IP dispersed alarms, telehealth and telecare products to support those also, and again, staff attack and nurse call products. We're quite unique. We try and work with industry leaders, suppliers, and offer products and services to meet the requirements. Now the requirements could be a technical requirement, it could be budgetary requirements, it could be disruption. So what we try and do is assess each of the products, the suitability to meet the needs of each and individual client. We'll carry out the full design, the supply, the servicing, and the actual aftercare all in-house using our in-house support and our field engineers. We back this up with some important industry standards, as you can see there, from BAFE for fire detection, which again, certainly across Scotland with the February 2021 deadline for domestic smoke detection, which is really pertinent for retirement housing. We've got BAFE, we've got NSI, and some of the health and safety ones, electrical accreditation, and also there's one there for automation. We've got approximately 30 years experience in delivering services to this market for retirement living, with over 150 years of combined experience within the company. The products themselves, if we start with the dispersed alarm, so we can supply and deliver IP dispersed alarm solutions. So where the analog lines are migrating over the next 2 or 3 years, replacing those with a digital IP dispersed alarm. The IP dispersed alarm will work on SCAPE industry standard. It'll also integrate with new digital telecare devices, and you can see a selection there ranging from environmental sensors such as heat detection, smoke detection, carbon monoxide, through to some personal devices such as fall detection, and I'll touch on how they operate shortly. So the existing IP dispersed alarm can run on an analog traditional platform or a digital platform as and when the ARCs or alarm receiving centres become available. All the telecare devices are bi-directional, which means they are continually monitored by the dispersed alarm. Any activation is received by the unit and then it gets confirmation back to the actual dispersed alarm. So you have always on connection. It creates its own secure VPN through a SIM card built in. So again, for security, the VPN allows you to have some peace of mind that the connection between the resident in the property and the alarm receiving centre is a secure connection. Typically comes with a 2-year SIM card connectivity built in. Further costs after the 2 years would apply. Plug and play technology. It can be programmed remotely from cloud base by either ourselves here or organizations themselves. Cloud-based platform, just you can see it there. That will give you a full breakdown of the stock, the status of the unit, telecare devices, peripherals connected, the status of those, and a lot of information that for any organizations that use third-party monitoring centers, you can get the information directly themselves on call history, statistics, usage, and make changes, add and delete telecare peripherals, pendants, fall detectors as such, all yourselves. And it's plug and play and can be sent directly out and they'll be live when they arrive at the destination. Just to give you an example there, one of the devices, wrist-worn digital fall detector, it is what we call always on, so it's continually talking to the dispersed alarm within the property, continually being monitored. Any activations, whether the alarm activations or knocks, it will be received and you will get confirmation back, as you can see there, green light to acknowledge that the call has been received and it's sent back to the user via the wrist pendant. Away from the dispersed alarm, we also provide hardwired solutions for retirement living. Now, there's a whole range of, again, what we try to do is be unique and look at the products on the market and see what's best fit for each organisation. Some of the existing stock within retirement living can be adapted. Now, we carry out digital audits where we can look at existing systems. Can they be adapted to give you that digital connectivity? If not, then it's a range of providing a digital ready solution where that would be hardwired existing cabling typically within the property, replacing the speech units and door entry pendants, whatever's on the existing scheme, and also adding any requirements that each client would have. Again, slightly different product. This would be existing cabling. You've probably already seen this slightly earlier. Existing cabling, but it does have additional features where you can have multiple digital connections through to an alarm receiving center. It has a connection again remotely to a HQ where you can get call statistics, cloud-based information, and you can access usage, programming, and make changes and configuration changes to the system. And again, true digital end-to-end solution, touchscreen based within the residence apartments. This will require, generally will require new cabling because it won't sit on existing traditional board and call system cabling. However, the features over and above what you get from a standard traditional hardwired system far outweigh the upheaval of replacing the cabling. So touchscreen within the apartments, true digital end-to-end, video calling from the front entrance panel. The front entrance panel can also be integrated with fob systems, but also facial recognition. So those that may not be able to use a fob, you can store picture images at the entrance panel. So as and when a resident comes to the door, the camera will pick up their face, recognize them and unlock the door to the main communal area. Same as on the dispersed alarms, they're all supported by a range of telecare, digital text connection through whether it be heat detection, flood detection, smoke detection, pendants, your full range of telecare and telehealth peripherals can be connected. As I touched on earlier, we do work with a lot of leading housing providers across the north of England and Scotland, from third-party servicing to other products, to take them through to upgrades, digital asset surveys, and obviously ongoing maintenance. Just a quick slide there. We've as an example, Richmond District Council, they had legacy old analog equipment. We took on the maintenance of that in 2019, worked through a digital asset program with them, continued that on to digital upgrades through 2020 and completed them in 2021 of the hardwired systems. We now maintain their stock, and we've now moved on to assessing their dispersed alarms throughout the district, and again with the plan to migrate them from analog to full digital solution by the end of 2022. Thank you very much for your time. That was just a quick whistle stop. Hopefully we'll see you all in the breakout session. If anybody's got any questions, we'd love to see us and go through what we can offer. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to meet you all, and a big thanks to Scotland Excel for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. Let me introduce you to, first of all, myself. I'm Dan Strickland. I'm the business development representative at ChipTech. I'm going to introduce you to our company. So we are digital telecare specialists with an emphasis on design, innovation, independence and safety. We might seem like a bit of a new name to some of you, but we have been operating over in Australasia since the year 2000, and we opened our UK offices in 2019. We've already been providing digital dispersed alarm units since around 2015, when we were at the forefront of the government-backed initiative in Australia of the analog to digital switchover, and we retained the market share of digital connections over there. We have 280,000 digital connections globally, and that includes 14 to 15,000 digital connections in the UK. So we actually use the UK to try and bring our digital expertise to the market that was gearing up to make the analog to digital switch, and therefore we were offering a mature dispersed alarm unit that had been tried and tested. We currently, like I said, 14 to 15,000 digital connections in the UK, and that's operating on many different platforms. And this number continues to ramp up since September of 2020. So who do we work with? Well, as you can see there, we work with some of the biggest brands in the industry, and we're immensely proud to have cultivated some really great working partnerships. And through our affiliation with Taking Care, ChipTech are actually the only provider to have their digital alarms endorsed and available through Age UK, which again we're really proud of. I have included some quotes from our customers and service users on there. I won't read them all now because I'm conscious of the time, but if you would like me to sort of share them later on in the breakout rooms, that'd be absolutely fine. I'm also happy to provide introduction to our customers if you're wanting to get to know us from a customer perspective. And as well, we do have some really nice case studies that, again, I'll be more than happy to share with you. So, as you can see there, we're connected to all the major monitoring centres in the industry, with some very familiar names again, and that's via the SCAPE protocols and the new SCAPE with the Senelec. And as part of our service to you, if it involves going digital, it's something you're thinking of, then we will work with you to fully map all your alarm events to your monitoring platform, and that's for free, and that's before the equipment even gets to you, so that we can sort of increase your efficiencies and get the equipment working out of the box as soon as possible. So we aim to be fully interoperable, because we don't want to restrict our customers to just our equipment. We understand that sometimes different equipment's needed to best suit their needs and to provide their best outcomes. And with that in mind, we work some of the best in the industry when it comes to peripherals, such as ACO, Alertit, FireHawk, just to name a few. So in terms of connectivity, again, we want to try and provide a level of flexibility for the customers. So we do provide a choice of SIM providers. We're not looking to lock them in. We work and we stock with all the SIM providers to give a greater choice when it comes to choosing what's right for you. So onto our core digital offering, which is the dispersed alarm unit. So this is the EVA. The picture's a little bit smaller, so I have just got one here just to quickly show you again, just so you can get a bit of a better view of it than the slide. So the EVA is a best-in-class digital dispersed alarm unit with a whole host of features focused around safety, connectivity, and ease of use. So firstly, you've got the voice-guided setup. This has proved very beneficial to our customers, especially during the COVID restrictions, where a lot of our service providers have utilised door drops for self-installs, which have allowed vulnerable service users or the family members to get it installed without the need for an installer to actually go around and get it all set up. So one of the key features of the EVA is that you've got your voice guided setup, which I mentioned. This will actually take the user through the complete installation process. That will include moving the alarm unit if the cellular signal isn't strong enough, pairing of the pendant and any other peripherals, a series of range tests around the home and garden to ensure that it's working correctly within the range required. The EVA will also not allow the user to move on to the next stage of the install if these tests haven't been performed and completed safely and satisfactorily. It can also be turned off if required. That's fully customizable. So you also get the 300 meter pendant range, 70-hour battery backup, which we think are both leading in the industry, Cloud Connect updates, which are ideal for fleet management, a digital heartbeat on the unit and any peripherals attached to it. So that will enable you to know that they're working and they are connected. It's also got an advanced roaming algorithm, so it knows when to roam to ensure that you're on the best network possible. It's also compatible with the Smart Care Response app, which I'll touch on very shortly. One of the features from an efficiency standpoint, and this is sort of behind the scenes real equipment, but we will configure the customer's EVAs to their specification, and that's including custom branding on the unit, and that's completely free of charge. And what that means is hopefully that when you receive your product, all the legwork's been done already by us and our config engineers, so you know you can take it straight out of the box, install it, and save yourself hopefully a lot of time and money, really. So moving on to our other offering, which is the GPS pendant device, which is the ChipTech Go. So it's a speech pendant with optional fall detection. The Go has been designed completely around customer feedback. So the kind of things that we used to hear around telecare and certain stigmas were, it makes me feel old. Why can't I talk through my pendant, which is a common one? And why can't I wear it when I'm out shopping, walking the dog, etc.? And so with that in mind, we came up with something we feel is aesthetically pleasing. It's got a sleek modern design, and it's something that Mr. and Mrs. Smith can wear when they're pegging the washing out, taking the dog for a walk, even out to lunch with the friends, without the restriction of being within earshot of a base unit in the home to be able to talk to a monitoring centre. So some of the features on the Go are that it's IP67 showerproof, perfect for wearing out and about in the UK, where it's fair to say we get more than our fair share of showers. And again, different SIM options are available. Safety voice announcement that'll let the user know when there's reduced cellular signal. It's got an installer mode, so it can be configured at the point of install to certain specifications and preferences, and a GPS position within that one button safety check. So Go will also provide audible reassurance for the end user by informing them when an alarm is being sent and received by monitoring. So it includes an industry-leading battery life of 1 to 2 months, which means that the user won't have to worry about charging it every night, which can, of course, lead to risks of not being warm for long periods of time, or something happening and them not being able to raise the alarm because it's on charge. And you might look at the battery life and think, well, there's a big difference between 1 and 2 months, and you're absolutely right, there is. That is purely dependent on the fall detection being switched on or off. And the main reason is if fall detection is on, it's got a constantly working falls algorithm, and that's what just uses the battery a little bit quicker. So for service users that might be like their independents and they like to go out and about and do their own thing, which we'd always encourage, but maybe they need a robust package of telecare within the home as well. What we can actually do, which is a unique feature, is that the Go can actually be paired back into an EVA base unit. You can have your range of peripherals, such as your smoke alarms and whatnot, which I'll go into shortly, around the home. And it can provide a complete telecare solution for inside and outside of the home, ideally and essentially one pendant for everywhere. It can also provide a backup communication path to the monitoring centre. If mobile signal is poor through the Go, it will fall back to the EVA, where generally the signals are a bit stronger on the base units. And just to add, finally on the Go, we also offer it as a BS8484 duress device for your lawn workers, and it can sometimes be nice when you go into vulnerable or elderly service users to commission the device, and you actually see that your installers are actually wearing it as well for their own personal safety. So that's something that's available too. We also offer a wide range of peripherals to suit the needs of our customers and its service users. So the Pearl, which is our standard pendant alarm, is available with multiple wearing options, which you can see there. We also do a wall-mounted help button, a SID Connect, which will allow us to, it's like a transmitter that can connect to third-party devices. And again, I'll touch on that very briefly. So the Pearl is IP68 hot waterproof. It's suitable to be worn in the bath, shower, as often as possible, and ideally not taking off to reduce risks to the service users. We do a Pearl Advance, which is an upgraded version of the Pearl that includes fall detection and a unique shake to cancel feature, and that has led to sort of industry leading low levels of false activations. It's also got 4 specific settings to suit the user, and they include a normal wearing mode, extra frailty, epilepsy, and cognitive impairment, and I can touch on them a bit more later. That's no problem. Of peripherals, we include your enuresis sensor, epilepsy monitor, and we work with Alertit, who have got a fantastic reputation in the industry. We also offer a broad range of environmental peripherals. Again, ACO, FireHawk are our go-tos with these. We provide a broad range of these. They're renowned for the safety, connectivity, quality, and the cost, and we can provide solutions for residential, multi-occupancy, and housing without issue. So some of the personal safety devices that we peripherals, should I say, that we use include your door contacts, pressure mats, bed occupancy, and we'll always try to accommodate our customers if there's anything that we don't do that we can integrate. That's not an issue at all. I'd just like to finish really with a quick introduction to our Smart Care Response app. So the app's a great solution for sheltered housing, care settings, or in-house monitoring, anywhere where that's required. So with the app, any activations can go straight to the local or nominated responder, with further escalation if it's required to a monitoring centre. And the little diagram there in the bottom left-hand corner probably explains it best. So that the alarm can be raised by a pendant press fall detection. Your dedicated responders will receive your push notifications. It can escalate if there's no responder available to monitoring. However, the responders can chat to each other via a messaging service. let the service user know that they're attending, and they can even dial back into the device to open a two-way speech. And of course, monitoring can escalate additional help if required there. It can also be used as a cost-effective alternative to the traditional hardwired scheme systems. So for a bit of context, a 20-block scheme could be fully digital with Eva Go Smart Care Response app in roughly a day, and that would be at a fraction of the cost, but also still providing the same basic functionality. So that's really it for me. Really appreciate the opportunity. I can't thank you enough for allowing me to present. There are my contact details. By all means, get in touch if you have any questions. I'll see you in the breakout room. Fire me a message on LinkedIn if you ever want a brief chat on there. Yeah, and that's it. So thank you very much.